Okay, so you want to own a climbing gym. On paper, this is the small business everyone says they want. No kitchen, no inventory that spoils, no delivery app taking 30%. You sell a membership, the card charges itself on the first of the month, and the customer comes back 3 times a week because what you're selling is also their hobby, their gym, and their social life. The sport is in the Olympics now. There were about 300 of these gyms in America in 2009. Today, there are close to 700. It looks like the safest recurring revenue business in the country. It is not. One climbing gym franchise here is legally required to disclose its numbers, and in its most recent filing, the average location brings in $986,000 a year. Call it $1 million. The industry-wide data lands in exactly the same place. Now, here's what that same filing says it costs to open one. $1.7 million to $3.3 million. 1.7 to 3.3. So before a single person clips in, you have spent 2 to 3 years of every dollar this gym will ever collect, not profit. Every dollar that walks through the door. And that's the cheap version, the one where you rent someone else's building. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the product here isn't the wall. It's something the gym destroys and rebuilds from scratch every month, forever. Why chalk is not a cleaning expense, but a capital expense, and why the most valuable thing in your gym is something you don't own. One more thing, the most expensive judgment in the history of this industry landed in June of 2026, $50 million. It had nothing to do with anyone falling off a wall. We'll get there. Hold 2 dates in your head for the next 20 minutes. In 2009, a married couple opened a climbing gym in Boulder, Colorado. They called it Movement. That same year, about 30 miles away, somebody else opened a bouldering gym in Denver. They called it the Denver Bouldering Club. Same sport, same metro area, same year. Both grew to multiple locations. Both were exactly the business you're imagining right now, the dream version, owned by people who climbed. One of them is now the largest climbing gym network in the world. The other one closed forever on the 29th of May, 2026. Everything between here and the end of this video is the reason why. So let's build it. Start with the box, because a climbing gym is not a business that moves into a retail unit. Bouldering walls run 16 to 20 feet. Rope walls run 40 to 50 feet. That Jacksonville gym has 50-foot lead walls, and the flagship in Salt Lake City has 60. There is exactly one kind of American building with that ceiling and a price that isn't absurd, an industrial warehouse. So you go looking for a warehouse, and here's the first thing nobody warns you about. American warehouses are not one market, they're two. The giant distribution boxes sit at over 10% vacancy. The small units a climbing gym actually needs sit at about 4 and rent at a 30% premium. The one size class of cheap industrial space you need is the one that isn't cheap. Then you start rebuilding the building. The foundation under a climbing wall needs to be anywhere from 5 inches to 20 inches of concrete, depending on the design, which frequently means tearing out and re-pouring the slab of a warehouse you are only renting. Then the walls. The largest wall manufacturer on earth sells the material for about $16.50 a square foot, and that's just the panels, before shipping, before installation, before the engineers who fly in to supervise. A finished wall system runs from $200,000 to over $1 million. Then the floor. And here the arithmetic gets strange, because a bouldering floor, the multi-layer foam system that catches a body falling from 20 feet, costs roughly as much per square foot as the wall does. You are paying wall money for the ground, then the air, which gets its own chapter later. For scale, a 50,000 square foot gym in Austin Texas runs 11 separate HVAC units around the clock. And you haven't sold a single day pass yet. This is where the guides betray you. Every one of them budgets $100 to $200 a square foot. 2 real American climbing gyms went through city permitting in the last 2 years. One in Jacksonville, Florida at 15,000 square feet and $6.5 million. One in Sarasota at 19,000 square feet and over $6 million. That's $316 to $429 a square foot, 2 to 3 times the number in the guide. So you go to the bank, and the federal small business loan programs do something quietly brutal. They ask 10% down unless you're a startup, in which case 20, and unless the building is special purpose, meaning nobody else can use it without gutting it, in which case also 20. A first-time climbing gym owner is both. 50-foot steel walls bolted to a re-poured slab is the definition of a building with one possible tenant. On a $2.5 million project, that's $500,000 of your own money before the doors open. And the payback period on that franchise's own disclosed numbers runs 17.5 to 19.5 years against a loan whose maximum term is 25. Here's what you're actually selling. It isn't climbing, it's novelty. A climbing gym is a factory that manufactures new problems and destroys old ones permanently on a schedule. Bouldering gyms typically reset about a quarter of the gym every week, which means the entire product, every route in the building, is torn down and rebuilt roughly once a month. Rope routes run 6 to 8 weeks, forever. There is no version of this business where you stop. And that work is slow in a way the customer never sees. By the largest network's own published standard, one route setter builds 3 to 6 boulder problems in 4 hours, and then the team spends another 2 to 3 hours forerunning them, climbing each one to calibrate the grade. A full-time setter produces about 30 problems a week. Every route in your gym was built by one person and signed off by several more. Setters make $19 to $21 an hour. A head setter, $48,000 to $55,000 a year. And the trade burns people out. By the industry's own reporting, most route setters leave the profession within 3 to 5 years. Then there are the holds. The starting stock of holds and volumes is priced off wall area, not route count. One setting professional in Colorado puts it at $15 to $20 per square foot of climbing surface. On a 10,000 square foot wall, that's $170,000 to $200,000 of plastic before you open, and holds die in a way almost perfectly designed to be ignored. They don't crack. The texture wears off. Chalk and rubber polish the surface until the grip is gone, and the hold sits on the wall looking brand new while being functionally dead. You can't restore it. You can only wash it, which is why an entire equipment category exists whose only job is cleaning plastic. Your customers think they're paying for a wall. They're paying for the fact that the wall is different this month. Now put the two halves together, because this is the sentence the whole business rests on. A gym doing about $1 million a year in a 15,000 square foot building is generating roughly $66 of revenue per square foot per year. 20,000 square feet and it's 50. And we said what a square foot costs to build, $316 to $429 in those 2 real Florida projects. Every square foot of a climbing gym cost about 6 years of its own revenue to create, 6 years of revenue, not profit, just to exist. So owners chase the other revenue. And here the industry's own trade association gives the cleanest reality check I found. A realistic retail benchmark, they say, is about $2 per check-in. A gym with 250 check-ins a day does roughly $180,000 of retail a year. At a sensible 40% margin, that's $72,000 of profit, which, in their own example, is about 1 month of membership dues, a full year of running a shop, staffing it, buying inventory, eating the shoes nobody bought, to earn a 13th month. Youth programs are the one genuine bright spot. Enrollment in new youth classes and competition teams in the Midwest jumped 84% in 2025, and the trade press credits them with holding a lot of gyms together that year. And when things get tight, the industry knows exactly who disappears first, not the members, the casual customers, the family outing, the birthday party, the impulse buy at the front desk. The people who were never coming back anyway are the people propping up the number. A climbing gym employs somewhere around 24 people, most of them part-time. The industry runs exactly one compensation survey. In it, the average annual salary across all climbing gym staff in the United States is $35,994, roughly 17% below per capita income in the country the gym operates in. Climbing instructors average $22,444. The federal government's own labor statistics put the median American fitness instructor at $46,180. In 2025, 85% of gyms raised their wage budgets, and 85% reported their total costs going up. And the workforce noticed. Since 2022, roughly 30 American climbing gyms have voted to unionize. 3 of them have a contract. Here's the picture that puts the whole industry on one screen. At a movement gym in Philadelphia, a front desk employee was making $13.50 an hour. In the summer of 2025, he received a raise, 1%, $13.64. A membership at that gym costs $109 a month plus a $49 joining fee. Now the part we've been holding. Insurance. The most established insurance program in America for indoor climbing facilities starts at $5,000 a year for general liability. The median general liability premium for a normal gym or fitness studio in this country, measured across real policies, is $825, 6 times, and $5,000 is the floor of the program, not the average. And that premium comes with conditions that tell you exactly what the underwriter is afraid of. Bouldering walls no higher than 15 feet, mats 12 to 15 inches deep. If you use belay systems, auto-belays only. Humans belaying humans is outside the program entirely, and a signed waiver from every single climber. That waiver is what the entire industry leans on, and mostly it holds. In February of 2025, an Illinois appeals court upheld one after a fall that broke both of a woman's feet and a vertebra. But a waiver covers ordinary negligence. It does not cover gross negligence, and it does not protect the company that made the equipment. On the 1st of August, 2019, a man named Michael Vandeveer fell 30 feet inside a Seattle climbing gym when an auto-belay device went slack. 12 pelvic fractures, a ruptured bladder, a collapsed lung, traumatic brain injury. 4 years later, the case settled for $6 million, $5 million from the manufacturer, $1 million from the gym. In March of 2020, that manufacturer had recalled about 1,100 of those devices. During litigation, the plaintiff's lawyers uncovered a history of the same defect going back to 2015, and a judge fined the manufacturer $300,000 for concealing evidence. The gym paid $1 million for a device it bought in good faith and installed correctly, and the recalls keep coming, 3 in 8 months across 2024 and 2025. When one lands, a section of your wall stops earning money that day. Now, the number from the beginning of this video, that same industry association ran an observational study about 700 climbers, 8 gyms, 3 days of watching in each. 83% of climbers say they always check the auto-belay carabiner before they climb. 10% actually do. That gap is the business, not the wall, not the holds, the gap between what your customers believe about themselves and what they do. And then there's the judgment I promised you. In June of 2026, a Cook County jury ordered a Chicago area climbing gym company to pay $50 million, $49 million compensatory, $1 million punitive. The case was about an 8-year-old boy who was sexually assaulted in a bathroom at the company's summer camp in Peoria, Illinois in July of 2022 by a 13-year-old at the same camp. The finding was negligent supervision. Both managers were absent. The older child had been allowed to go to the bathroom alone despite warnings. The most expensive judgment in the history of the American climbing gym industry has nothing to do with the wall, the ropes, or the height. It is about the youth program, the single revenue stream the industry itself calls its brightest spot. That's the trade. The thing keeping gyms alive in a flat year is also the thing carrying the largest liability in the industry's history. Now, the substance nobody puts in a business plan. Roughly 90% of chalk dust particles in a climbing gym are 5 microns or smaller. About 73% are under 1 micron. The human eye sees particles at around 10 microns, so almost none of it is visible to you. A standard commercial air handler ships with filters that capture particles from about 5 microns and up. Read those 2 sentences again. The building's ventilation is, by design, transparent to the main thing floating inside it. The chalk isn't filtered. It goes through and it settles inside the machine. There's a gym in Pittsburgh that opened in 2017. 4 months later, its air handler was packed with chalk and the motor failed. A replacement would have run tens of thousands of dollars and the warranty covered it. A fresh filter in that building picks up about a centimeter of chalk in a week. The portable chalk eater units they'd installed as a fix mostly just moved the dust around the room. Measured air in bouldering gyms at peak hours has hit particulate levels dozens of times the outdoor guideline for a British city, and in 2025, researchers in Vienna and Switzerland found 15 rubber additives in that air abraded off climbing shoes, including a compound whose breakdown product has been linked to mass salmon die-offs in American rivers. Nobody has regulated any of it yet. Somebody will. Chalk is not a cleaning line item. It's a capital line item that arrives disguised as dust. Back to 2009. Movement, the gym that opened in Boulder, was bought in November of 2019 by a holding company called El Cap, assembled by a Connecticut private equity firm starting in 2017. In December of 2021, 3 brands were collapsed into one, 19 gyms, 7 states, over 400,000 square feet of wall under a single name. Today, Movement operates 34 gyms across 9 states. It is the largest climbing gym network in the world. The Denver Bouldering Club stayed independent and grew to 3 locations. In late June of 2025, it closed 1. In early July, it filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy to save the other 2, citing an inefficient location, an unfavorable lease, and declining membership. The court filings put it at $89,000 in assets against $526,000 in liabilities. The largest single creditor was the United States Small Business Administration at $492,000. It exited bankruptcy at the end of 2025 and closed permanently on the 29th of May, 2026. 6 months later, same sport, same city, same year. One took private equity money and became a chain. The other took a government loan and became a filing. And the biggest player went from 3 gyms to 34 in 6 years because it stopped being a climbing business and became a capital allocation business. 2025 is the year the graph bent. 53 new gyms opened across North America, 12 closed permanently, and all 12 of them were in the United States. Net growth, 4.7%. In 2017, that number was 11.2. New climbing wall construction fell 23% in a single year. 73% of operators said economic conditions had gotten worse. 85% reported higher costs led by energy, insurance, and payroll. The quote the trade report led with from an operator: boom times are over. Profitability is much harder unless you have scale. According to the trade press, all 12 of the gyms that closed were under 1,000 square meters. the small ones, mostly outside major metros. Attendance fell across the board that year, and hardest at the smallest gyms. The gyms that died were the dream version. And about the Olympics, since every article about this sport mentions them, the industry's fastest growth year was 2017, before climbing appeared in any games. The Olympic bump is real, and it is smaller than the story about it. Meanwhile, the National Outdoor Participation Report for 2025 found the number of people taking up indoor climbing actually ticked down. In a year when overall outdoor recreation hit an all-time high of 181 million Americans, more walls, fewer new climbers, that is the whole scissors in one sentence. There's a climbing gym in Garden City, Idaho that has been open for 13 years. It announced this year that it will close on the 29th of November, 2026. It is not failing. By the owner's own account, the gym is financially stable and growing. Its lease ran out in the middle of 2026. It got an extension through the end of the year, and no long-term renewal was offered because the property manager has a better use for the building. That's it. That's the whole story. You spent millions turning somebody else's warehouse into a purpose-built climbing facility. You re-poured their slab, you bolted steel to their structure, and when the lease ends, the thing you built stays in their building. You never owned a climbing gym. You owned the plywood inside somebody else's box, which brings us to the exit. And to a fact that tells you something on its own. There is no public valuation multiple for a climbing gym anywhere. Every acquisition in this industry has closed with terms undisclosed. The closest comparable ordinary gyms and fitness centers trades in real transactions at roughly 3 to 4 times earnings. So if you run a genuinely good gym and it clears $200,000 a year, your exit is somewhere around $700,000. For a business you spent between $2 and $6.5 million building. One last thing, and it's the strangest fact in this entire industry. Nobody knows how long a climbing gym member stays. The trade press says it in plain language. There are no retention statistics kept for commercial climbing gyms. An industry built entirely on monthly recurring revenue does not measure the rate at which that revenue leaves. There is one proxy. The industry association has surveyed climbers for years, and in both 2019 and 2026, about half the people climbing in American gyms had 2 years of experience or less, 7 years apart. Same answer. The customer base isn't aging into loyalty, it's being refilled. A new crowd walks in, roughly the same share of the old one walks out, and nobody has ever counted them. So here's what a climbing gym actually is. It's a real estate bet on a building you don't hold the deed to. It's a factory that destroys and rebuilds its entire product every month, forever. And it's an insurance position on the one climber in 20,000 who hits the ground. Do all 3 well, and you get about $1 million a year in revenue, $120,000 to $150,000 for yourself, and a payback period that outruns your loan. The people winning at this bought scale, or they bought the building. The dream, one gym, your walls, your community, your name on the door, is the exact version of this business the numbers like least. A machine that collects $100 a month from people who genuinely love being there, or $200,000 of plastic bolted to a landlord's wall with your signature on the loan. It depends entirely on which one you think you're buying. You decide.